All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you're new. Thank you for taking time out of your day to check the video out. We have more PlayStation news to go over here today. We actually only have one topic, but it's a significant topic and something that maybe isn't too surprising to hear about. Apparently, another major PlayStation Live service game was canceled. This is being reported by PlayStation Lifestyle. They say a new report claims that another major PlayStation Live service game in development at an external studio has been canceled. The game is none other than the Horizon MMO that was reportedly in development at Korean studio NCSoft. It was one of the two Horizon-based live service games greenlit by Sony. Internet sleuths on Reset Era discovered a Korean news report which claims that a number of NCSoft games, including one called Project H, was canceled towards the end of 2024. Project H has long been rumored to be the codename for Project Skyline, that previous job listings and employee resumes all but confirmed was in fact the Horizon MMO. NCSoft is reeling from multiple cancellations, with the co-chairman quoted as saying, "Let's create a 2025 where we work to the bone with the idea that if we don't turn around in 2025, there will be no future for NC again." That's according to the Korean website. There is one other Horizon multiplayer game currently in development at PlayStation Studios, which is seemingly safe for now, but one can't help but wonder what possessed Sony to greenlight not one, but two Horizon live service projects. Absolute overkill. So this news comes not too long after we heard that Bluepoint's live service God of War game, as well as Sony Ben's live service game, were both canceled, and the studios are now going to have to start over and seemingly pitch Sony some new projects and some new game ideas. Now, hearing that this Horizon multiplayer game is canceled, again, not that surprising. It seems pretty clear that Sony has done a near 180 on their live service strategy, and it's not to say that they are completely done with live service, because we still have titles like Fair Games, as well as Marathon, Project Gummy Bears, and still this internal Horizon multiplayer game that currently haven't been canceled. These games are still, as of right now, in development and seemingly set to release, although that doesn't mean they're safe from cancellation. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if we continue to hear about more projects, specifically live service projects, getting canceled. But this one, I would say, is one that's not really going to upset many people. I don't think there was really that much excitement for a Horizon MMO in partnership with NCSoft. You could kind of see the potential there a little bit, but yeah, I do agree with what this article is saying, that Sony greenlighting two Horizon multiplayer games, specifically two Horizon live service games, is just simply too much. You really have to wonder with this whole situation what exactly Sony was thinking. But I want to kind of transition the conversation to just something that's a bit more opinion-based here, and that is that Sony seemingly had to learn the hard way. Something that I've been noticing is that a lot of PlayStation fans are actually not feeling as bad about this as I would have expected. I feel like no matter which way you slice it, there are about 9 games in total that were canceled. Many of them we never actually got to see, but we know were in development for multiple years and had a lot of time and resources dumped into them. And to my surprise, quite a few PlayStation fans are actually feeling like, you know, this is maybe a good thing in the end. And I understand where they're coming from. They feel as though this is a good thing because it's good we see this now, or at least happening now, rather than later. It would have been even worse if Sony decided to continue the development of all of these live service games just to see them come out and completely bomb and waste even more time and even more resource. By them kind of getting rid of these games now, shutting these projects down now, it gives them more time to course correct, you know, going into the end of this generation and into the PlayStation 6. But that's the thing here, man. There's just going to be this unfortunate reality for the remainder of the PlayStation 5 generation, where no matter how many games we get, such as Ghost of Yotei and Death Stranding 2, Wolverine, and Intergalactic, right? And I'm sure there's at least maybe one or two that may be ready to release this generation that we don't know about yet. Even with these games that we're going to get, and for as good as they may end up being, we also have to consider that, man, it's going to be half of what we could have gotten, or maybe less than half, because so many teams were tasked with making these live service games. So much of this entire PlayStation 5 generation was focused on going all in with live service to a point of just kind of insanity, right? Where it's like hard to believe when looking at all these projects that were greenlit and then canceled, or just, you know, studios like Naughty Dog deciding they don't want to commit to a live service. It's kind of mind-boggling. And so when we think of these 9 different projects that were canceled, it is always just going to be painful to look back at this generation, or even just as we go into 2025, 6, and 7, it's going to be painful to realize that most of these projects could have been single-player games, right? And we would have literally double the amount of single-player games, both AA and AAA, to look forward to in the coming years. But it is what it is, right? It's one of these situations where Sony really, truly believed that they were going to be able to penetrate the live service market in a significant way. They put all of their eggs in that basket, or maybe not all of them. That's unfair to say, because we do still have single-player games coming, but they put like 80%, like 70 to 80% of their eggs in that basket at the start of this generation, and it is just not worked out, except for Helldivers 2. And it's unlikely that these upcoming games are going to work out, which is why I'm curious to see if they actually go through with releasing them and bringing them to market, because as we covered recently, Concord shook them to their core, man. I'm just waiting to hear that Fair Games got canceled. I got to be honest with you. I'm waiting to hear that news, because that game was revealed alongside Concord, and it got pretty much the same exact type of response. So I just don't see a reality in which Sony is willing to bring that to market unless they completely overhauled the game and just made it completely different from what we saw in the reveal trailer, which is possible considering it was just a CG trailer. But I digress. I'm just simply trying to say here that it is really annoying, honestly. You know, I've been getting some flack from some individuals on the internet, making it sound like I'm, you know, purposely going out of my way to be negative, or I'm being, you know, hyperbolic. I really think that's kind of crazy, if I'm being honest. I think it's kind of crazy to see how many titles were canceled, how many studios that could have been working on single-player games but weren't, and now we're just going to have to probably wait to hear from them next gen. I think it's kind of crazy that there are people making it seem like this really isn't a big deal at all and just completely downplaying it. I don't think that it's worth going completely nuts over and losing your mind, because again, it's not like Sony didn't have some type of safety net. It's not like we don't have some single-player games coming for the remainder of the generation. But I just think that the reality is Sony messed up big time, and they had to learn a hard lesson that, you know, I feel like a lot of people maybe were trying to point out to Sony that you could stop. You don't have to do this. You don't have to learn the lesson the hard way. You don't have to go all in. Just slow it down, pull it back, and rethink this, right? And, you know, here we are, 4 years into the generation, and that is seemingly when they had to kind of unwind this and turn it around. But yeah, very unfortunate news. Another live service PlayStation game canceled. Can't say I care about this one. I had pretty much no interest in this. I mean, it would have been interesting to see it revealed, but not something I think I was going to play. And I think this was also going to be like a mobile game, so it's like, yeah, I can't really act like I care that this game in particular is, you know, feels like much of a loss, but we can just add it to the graveyard now of canceled live service games. And so if there's any type of positive to be taken away from this, any at all, I think it would be that it seems very likely now, highly likely, that Sony is making a significant pivot back to single-player games. I don't think they're going to completely give up on multiplayer or live service, but I would think that pretty much all of these studios, or the overwhelming majority of these studios, are now going to pitch Sony single-player games, and that's something that I think Sony's going to be completely on board with, because how could you not be at this point in time? So that's, I think, maybe the only positive to be taken away from this. It is unfortunate, again, that it's going to take so long and they have to start over. But I guess the hope is, you know, when we are entering the PlayStation 6 generation, if many of these games get greenlit relatively quickly and the developers start working on them quickly, the PlayStation 6 generation could end up maybe making up for this and what the PS5 generation could have been in terms of just a complete onslaught of just single-player games, a crazy lineup. You know, maybe that's something we'll end up seeing with the PlayStation 6. I know it's unfortunate to have to say that, but again, if I'm just trying to extract any positive here, it's that Sony is seemingly turning away from this live service push and strategy. And I don't think many PlayStation fans are going to be upset about that at the end of the day. But guys, that's going to do it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it informative. If you did, leave it a like, subscribe if you're new, hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share the video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.